Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. It has taken me a long time to finally get around to this, but I, after long last, have finally started The Wheel of Time. No, not the TV series, I mean the books. For years, The Wheel of Time has been this looming mega whale of fantasy literature that has just taunted me, right? Anytime I would inquire about a fantasy series worth checking out, I would ask someone, hey, recommend me a fantasy series. You know what they would recommend? Two things, The Lord of the Rings and The Wheel of Time. There may have been some Terry Goodkind in there, but we're going to leave that for another video because I don't feel like talking about Terry today. For the past several years now, I have mostly stuck with things that I can read or consume in a relatively short amount of time, right? Like, say, light novels. I am an absolute sucker for overpowered fantasy characters with few to no flaws. Basically, what I'm saying is I really, really like isekai. It scratches that itch that I don't usually get. And it's safe to say I have absolutely gorged myself on it. Now, more recently, as I have started back working on my own fantasy series and, doing some more deep world building and seeing some light take shape at the end of this really long roadmap, I thought that it would be a good idea to get back to my basics on fantasy reads. I used to read a lot of different kinds of sci-fi and fantasy books when I was younger, and I feel like I sort of fell off of that. And I just wanted to get right back up on that horse and just gallop away into the sunset. Okay. Yeah, what I'm saying is I'm reading more books again. I'm reading more fantasy books, right? So now this is the part of the video where I'm going to take a minute here and I'm going to throw fellow YouTube creator Daniel Green under the rails for not only having some of the best, most inspiring content on books and fantasy literature that I felt personally, after watching a lot of his content, I felt like a lesser human being for not just doing the thing. So if you're ever listening to this video, Daniel, I owe you for this. Is what I'm saying. Also, thanks. So The Wheel of Time. Let's talk about the Wheel of Time books. The Wheel of Time has been called many things. And so far as I can tell, an easy read is not one of them. Okay, it's not a book series that is recommended for readers who are just starting to get into fantasy. And even its own community has a lot of strong opinions on Robert Jordan's language and how he writes things. I don't want to get into that because that's something that I'll talk about later. Anyway, yeah, Robert Jordan's language, including but not limited to a strong vocalization on this thing called the slog, which I am nowhere near, but actually kind of want to read it. I'm kind of looking forward to it when I do get there. I think there are always going to be like these peaks and valleys in stories, in narratives, and I'm really interested to read both of them. I want to read the peaks, the action, the great stuff, the epic set pieces for the story, and then I also want to read the stuff that's kind of down at the bottom. I want to read that too because I feel like that only enhances the overall experience. But that's just me. So I'm not going to lie. Getting into the Eye of the World, which is the first book in the Wheel of Time series, was something of a chore. It was very different than the stuff that I'd been reading over the past few years. And I almost thought that I had forgotten how to read a damn book. My God. Then I remembered. Okay. I remembered. And this is just Robert Jordan's way. There was definitely a bit of confusion on what was what right from the prologue. We just sort of jump in. There's this scene. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. But there's this whole exchange that's going on that I didn't have any context for. I didn't understand what was happening. And then we go right into this story about this young person named Rand into this quaint, isolated backwoods village. And it took me so many rereads on some of the pages. I felt like I had forgotten how to read a book. And even then, I felt like if I accidentally skimmed a word, because we do this subconsciously, we'll read and we're trying to read past where we're currently at to sort of predict what's coming next. And I have actually done this. I have sort of found myself skimming through a few words. And I found that if I did that here, I would be so lost. If I skimmed over a word, it would throw such a curveball in the simplest of things later on. Was so frustrating. But then it happened, okay? And I think I'm not alone in this. At least I hope that I'm not alone in this. But it happened. Somewhere between chapter 3, maybe 4, right before, at least in the story, right before things start hitting the fan, right? It was like this light bulb went off. And suddenly I was getting it. Suddenly I was there. I was in this world. I was doing it. The Robert Jordan hurdle was conquered. And to be fair, it might take some readers less time or more time to reach that point. I would really like to know where everyone stands on that. Your first time getting into the Wheel of Time. At what point were you just instantly in there and doing it? Or was there a hurdle at first trying to wrap your head around the way in which Robert Jordan describes his world, introduces the characters, their dialogue, all of this stuff? Because like I said, I feel like I didn't know how to read a book. Maybe that's because I had spent so long just reading light novels of various shapes and sizes. I don't know. Maybe there should be a study on that. It's not going to be done by me. But yes, for me, it was around chapter 4. I stuck with it, and it definitely got easier. Now, as for Rand, let's talk about the character a little bit. Let's talk about my thoughts on Rand initially, because there's going to be other videos that I want to make talking about the Wheel of Time. I don't know that I want to do a series on this, but I definitely want to do a video on more talking about some of this stuff, because I feel like this is going to be a really thick, deep, rich world that I'm going to just want to occupy for a long time. Now, as for Rand, I can definitely see similarities with other characters of this type. I think I heard someone say that Rand was sort of like a chosen one. Maybe, but I don't know if this is sort of like this archetype here, but there was he's a youth from some backwater place. Okay, suddenly thrust into a situation that affects the whole world. And maybe I'm reaching here, and I'm sure there are going to be people that are going to correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe correct me a little bit, okay, if I'm wrong. But I saw a little bit of, say, Luke Skywalker, a little bit of Frodo Baggins. And I have heard people say that the Wheel of Time is very much inspired by the Lord of the Rings. So Rand is this hero in the making, and that's as it should be, because it's not very often we start a book where the hero's journey follows a protagonist who is already a hero. But if there are any fantasy books out there that have that, I might be interested in reading that sometime. I'm already a hero, I'm going to go on a hero's journey, instead of I'm not a hero and I'm thrust into the situation where I need to be a hero or go on this journey to become the hero. But I want to see it from the opposite side. I want to see the hero going on a journey. Or maybe we can have it where the hero just retires. The hero who doesn't go on a journey, he comes back from the journey and now he's sort of winding down. That would be really boring. Anyway, I don't know how and why I rabbit trailed here. As for the character so far, it's really difficult to say with any sense of accuracy what my thoughts are. I'm so fresh into this. I'm I feel like because of the, what is it, like it's over 4 million words for the whole Wheel of Time or more. I don't even know. It's a massive, like 12,000 pages or something, I think, of combined literature. I barely have my toe in the door at this point in the read. So I don't want to like start giving my ideas on the characters yet, because these are characters at their starting point. You know, we're still in the starting town. If this were an MMO, we still have our initiate gear on. Most of the interactions, I think, between the characters are probably going to represent an aspect of these characters that are going to have like a fundamental root system. And this is something that I've developed as a writer when it comes to approaching characters, as I approach characters that have a root structure and a stem structure. And as the root structure grows, so does the stem structure. And so then as, they start off as a sapling, right? But I mean, these roots, the roots are going to be the defining characteristics of their personalities, their foundation as a character. And then the stem is going to be the thing that grows. And as it does, it matures. Character goes from sapling to full-blown tree. It's maybe this is a terrible analogy, but this is how I approach my characters. So most characters are going to have personalities that they're going to carry with them through the entire story. And that's fine. I love that. I don't like it when characters do things that breaks their character, that they normally wouldn't be doing, unless it's a twist or someone's forcing their hand. Because usually a reader gets so comfortable with a character that when they do something that's different, it's usually I wonder why they're doing that thing that they normally wouldn't do. And a good reader can always spot that, right? So I'm curious to see how these characters grow with these established personality traits and characteristics over the course of the saga. So while I am against giving my opinion of these characters so soon, I do have one, that sort of stands out because, she's just so effing annoying. I am sure there are a lot of readers who know exactly who I'm talking about, exactly who this is. Nynaeve Almira, the Wisdom. She comes off as a very power trippy, spoiled brat. Just almost insufferable, like the way a loudmouth cousin is insufferable, surely you've had a loudmouth cousin, just gets on your last nerve. You just want to shove them into a storm drain and leave them there for the afternoon crying while you and your other nicer cousins go play in the backyard. And I'm going to be honest, I'm going to tell you right now, up front, Nynaeve, I love it. I love that I am annoyed by her. So there can be a lot of different sizes of a hero party, right? I'm very fond of hero party triads. You've got the capable hero, the wacky sidekick that has the hero's back and maybe comes in clutch. And of course, you have the insufferable know-it-all, which is literally, this is the main cast of Harry Potter in a nutshell. Competent hero Harry, Ron Weasley, the left nut, right? And the insufferable know-it-all Hermione. And I think that at the start of the Wheel of Time, that Nynaeve is definitely insufferable. And I can't wait to see what Robert Jordan does with this character. I'm very much excited because if a book was only filled with characters that I liked, that I got along with, characters that I could see myself going on a picnic with, then it wouldn't have much in the way of dynamics, and it wouldn't be a challenge for the reader. And I want to be clear that I'm not suggesting that only dynamic characters should be written about. I love a great one-dimensional, overpowered character that can do no wrong as much as the next person. But characters are like frozen treats, and not every book needs frozen custard. Sometimes you just want frozen yogurt, and that's okay. I think at this point in my journey of the Wheel of Time, it's much too early for me to offer what I would consider a quote-unquote review. And I personally don't want to do that. I think that there are other book channels on YouTube that have definitely done it better. And while I will be discussing what I like and don't like about it at some point in the future, I want this to be about my experience, the journey, the experience that I have along this journey, and not some clinical evaluation. So for now, I'm just going to say that I am very invested in this series, and I am very, very glad that I finally picked it up. I am not the swiftest reader in the universe, and I can only hope that I can keep this momentum going so that I can have more videos to talk about at a sort of steady pace, and that this doesn't turn into that thing that takes me half a lifetime to finish. That being said, I would very much love to hear your thoughts on the Wheel of Time, specifically Book 1. And of course, try to keep it spoiler free or try to be as vague as humanly possible. If you can't, then kindly wait until I've caught up and there is a spoiled discussion video. Is that the right word? Spoiled? A spoiler video filled with spoilers. Then we can talk about it. I know this isn't the kind of video that I normally make on this channel, since mostly it's been a focus on video games and streaming and even the odd anime and manga video, but I hope that you really enjoyed this because I want to do more like this, where we talk about books and even the writing process. So if you did enjoy it, then do me a solid and hit that like button and maybe consider leaving some comments. And if you want to subscribe, there will be more content like this in the future. So, until next time, guys, have an amazing day, keep being awesome, and I will see you all in the next video.